219 and the nays are 211. The joint resolution is passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The cheers erupted on the House floor as MAGA Mike Johnson and Donald Trump faced another humiliating defeat. By a vote of 219 to 211, the House of Representatives voted to ban or block Donald Trump's tariffs against Canada, to revoke those tariffs. Now, this follows, of course, what took place yesterday when MAGA Mike Johnson tried to bring what's called a rule to the floor, which would have precluded the House of Representatives from voting to block Donald Trump's tariffs against Canada, Mexico, or the rest of the world for an entire year. So MAGA Mike tried to block the debate to prevent Congress from even taking this vote to block Donald Trump's tariffs against the world. MAGA Mike was outvoted yesterday by a significant amount as well. 217 against the rule and only 214 in favor of the rule. And because voting to block Donald Trump's tariffs against the world is something called a privileged resolution, Democrats were able to bring it to the House floor for a vote yesterday, and the Democrats, along with 6 Republicans, voted against Donald Trump's Canada tariffs. And this was a massive loss for Donald Trump and MAGA Mike Johnson. Here are the 6 Republicans who voted against Trump and joined with the Democrats: Thomas Massie, Don Bacon, Brian Fitzpatrick, Jeff Hurd, Kevin Kiley, and Dan Newhouse. Now, this follows Donald Trump threatening any Republican in the House who would dare vote against him and MAGA Mike Johnson would suffer severe consequences. Well, the Republicans defied him and MAGA Mike. The Republicans rebuked him, and those 6 Republicans at least joined with Democrats in the House of Representatives. Folks, the dam has broken, and Donald Trump is losing each and every day. Here's what Trump posted: any Republican in the House or Senate that votes against the tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences come election time. And that includes primaries. Our trade deficit has been reduced by 78%. The Dow Jones has just hit 50,000 and the S&P 7,000, all numbers that were considered impossible just 1 year ago. Really, our deficit has decreased 78%. You're just making up numbers. Donald Trump goes on to say, in addition, tariffs have given us great national security because the mere mention of the word has countries agreeing to our strongest wishes. Tariffs have given us economic and national security, and no Republican should be responsible for destroying this privilege. President Donald J. Trump. The privilege is in Article 1 of the Constitution. The power belongs to Congress. Congress has the power over taxes, and tariffs are a form of tax. So if indeed that privilege, as you call it, or what seems to be a curse, is wanted because 95% of it's passed on to consumers, which is why inflation is surging and actually why we had a jobs recession last year, Congress can pass a law. But Congress doesn't want this. They just rebuked you, Donald. Donald Trump also posted the following message as well, right as these tariffs against the world by Trump were rebuked by Congress. Trump posts, Canada has taken advantage of the United States on trade for many years. They are among the worst in the world to deal with, especially as it relates to our northern border. Tariffs make a win for us easy. Easy, Republicans must keep it that way. President Donald J. Trump. Now, we know that Donald Trump always attacks Canada, defames Canada, calls it the 51st state, attacks its sovereignty. But what makes this specifically disgusting is that for anybody following world events, in British Columbia, Canada just suffered a major school shooting at a school in British Columbia where 9 innocent people lost their lives. Shooter took his own life as well. 25 people seriously injured. Mostly all the countries across the world called Canada to show remorse, standing with Canada. You know, when I heard from Prime Minister Carney earlier in the day, he mentioned all the countries that called him. He didn't mention the United States. Instead, Donald Trump, rather than showing sympathy and remorse for what's going on in Canada right now, Donald Trump posts this attack. At the same time, Congress voted to revoke, remove, rebuke. You pick the R word, you pick whatever you want to call it, but stop the tariffs. Congressmember Don Bacon, Republican, writes the following. Congress has Article 1 constitutional responsibility on tariffs. We cannot and should not outsource our responsibilities. As an old-fashioned conservative, I know tariffs are a tax on the American consumers. I know some disagree, but this debate and vote should occur in the House. We also heard from Gary Shapiro, who was reposted by Don Bacon. These tariffs aren't strategic. They make products less affordable, squeeze manufacturers, and slow startups. Thanks to House Dems and Kevin Kiley, Don Bacon, and Massey for rejecting yesterday's procedural motion and preserving congressional authority on trade. And as Brendan Duke explains and is reposted by Don Bacon, wow, the Congressional Budget Office just came out with its latest estimates, and it estimates that U.S. consumers bear 95% of the Trump tariffs. Basically, foreign firms bear 5% of them, U.S. companies bear 30% of them, but other U.S. companies get to raise prices on consumers from less competition, so that nets to zero, and consumers pay the rest. And Don Bacon reposts Scott Lincecum saying, shocked, I tell you, that the